Hello again, and welcome to another edition of MasterMind Minutes. My name's Gary Occhiogrosso. I am the founder and managing partner for Franchise Growth Solutions, what we believe is the premier franchise development and franchise sales organization in the business. I'm also the publisher of FranchiseMoneymaker.com. And for those of you new to MasterMind Minutes, you can hear one guest, one topic, one expert answer in minutes, not hours. And while we realize that is very often not enough, we will give you the contact information of our guests so that you can reach out directly and learn more about their organization or about our guest in general. And today it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Red Boswell to the program. And Red brings more than 25 years of executive leadership in many areas of franchising, marketing, and entrepreneurship. In his current role as the president of the International Franchise Professionals Group, which those of us in the business lovingly refer to as IFPG. Red is responsible for growing membership as well as developing and overseeing new and exciting programs to support the IFPG members, whether that is the franchisor group, or the broker group, which he'll tell us about. In 1998, Red founded and built Pet Butler. Well, I didn't know that, by the way, a nationwide chain of 148 pet service franchises. And after selling that system, he launched IntegraServe, a franchise and marketing consulting firm. I also didn't know that about you, so we definitely want to touch on that. Listen, overall, Red is a seasoned entrepreneur, franchisor, CEO, certified franchise executive, speaker, consultant, and I know him as a passionate business builder on wisely scaling organizations, which he's doing right now with IFPG. He's well known throughout the franchising business for his innate charisma and his creative mindset. So with that introduction, Red, I don't know if I've left anything out, but why don't you fill in the blanks and tell us what's going on in the world of Red Boswell and IFPG?
Half the time I was wondering who you're talking about there. That was beautiful. Thank you, Gary. And as well, let's just toot the horn here. As of yesterday, because I'm insanely proud, I'm also MBA. Got that MBA, baby. 51 years old, little slow on the MBA track, but got her done.
That's great. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank
so
you.
What's going on in the world of IFPG these days in terms of bringing it, more to the forefront of the franchise community as if it isn't already?
Well, thanks for asking. There's what isn't going on around here. We're focused day in, day out on providing more value and more services, more resources and tools for our members. We work with close to 600 franchisors, helping them find the best candidates and change lives. We've got well over 600 consultants or referral brokers helping find folks who we can change their life. And we actually work with about 120, 130 vendors or suppliers to the industry, impacting lives again. So it's a great time to be in franchising, and it's never been hotter to be with IFPG. So if that ain't a sales pitch, I don't know what is.
Yeah, no, that's actually a very nice sales pitch. No, and I agree. I mean, I know scores and scores of people from IFPG, from leadership to brokers to actually, I think one or two of my clients is with IFPG. And I can't say, enough about it. I remember the organization way back when Don Deskowski, another good friend, started this thing. And I remember thinking, wow, it's a great idea. Put these brokers into a group where everyone's singing off the same sheet of music, so to speak. They're educated, they have access to information, access to inventory, meaning the franchisors, and really put brokers in a position to service their client, the franchise buyer, in the best position to fulfill that role. So, with that sort of the umbrella or the backdrop, what I really want to get into here is, the challenge that all franchisors have, even mature brands. Obviously, it's less of a challenge for a brand that has 500 or 1,000 units and it's on fire and everybody wants it. But certainly for startups and emerging brands, which is sort of the pond that I swim in, lead generation is the issue, and quality lead generation, the cost for those leads, the cost to close a deal. How do you get leads? Where do they come from? what can you tell us in your years as a franchisor, as a consultant in the industry, and now heading up really the premier broker group in the United States? Talk to us about lead generation.
Gary, by the way, I'm honored to be on here. You're so respected, and I've been a fan forever. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you. Thank you. FranDev. So nothing happens until something's sold. So FranDev is at the forefront of any franchise organization. You got to have your act together even before you get the leads. So you put your house in order. Now it's time to get the leads. If you don't have your house in order, leads don't matter because they're all going to fall apart. You're never going to award a franchise in the first place. So start with the foundation, solid foundation opportunity, profitable organization, and a FranDev team, or at least a FranDev rep that has they know what they're doing. They don't just, oh, I love the franchise and I'm a sales guy. It's really having it together. Now that that's in place, let's get leads. Okay, as you know, there's dozens of ways to get a lead, a candidate, but the quality, all leads are not created equal. So it's determining where to put your money, your time, and your effort. Do you want to go through 500 or 1,000 leads to hopefully get a deal? Do you want to go through 10, 20, 30, $60,000 in marketing to hopefully get a deal? Or do you want to look at something that's lower risk? Are you maximizing all the avenues that you can to get the franchises awarded to the right people?
Yep. And I agree. It's not just the number of leads, it's the quality and understanding. One of the things we spend a lot of time when we launch a franchise brand, after we've developed it, and we move into what we call the FSO stage, the franchise sales organization stage, we spend a lot of time with the franchisor for our own good to understand, and for their own good to sort of manage the expectation of the franchisor as to who is your ideal or the persona of your candidate. Because very often when I talk to franchisors and I'll say, well, who do you think your franchise buyer is? Who do you think your franchisee is? Oh, everyone will love what we're doing. And I have this line, I say, well, yeah, you have to think of it as like a baby beauty contest, and everybody enters a picture of their baby and all the babies are beautiful, but all the parents think their baby is the most beautiful. So we're dealing with a certain level of education and reality on the franchisor side that I think is very, very important. To me, some of the, I don't know, I'm going to use the word mistakes. I don't mean to be harsh about it, but some of the mistakes that franchisors make, number one, it's not embracing what really is going on in the industry and thinking that what they're doing is so different that they're in a different universe. Now, I'm all about points of differentiation on product, on concept, on selling strategies. But at the end of the day, we live in an industry that has certain norms, if you will, and you have to play to those norms. For me, some of the things that I see franchisors make as a mistake is having an expectation that's unrealistic, not planning properly, not understanding what it costs to get a lead, not understanding the sales cycle, like how long. Sometimes, again, we're doing $600,000-$700,000 restaurants. The sales cycle can be 4, 5, 6 months from the time the person calls us to the time we close the deal. So I'd like to know your thoughts on sales cycle, cost association, and maybe what are realistic expectations for franchisors who are startup and emerging brands?
Wow. Big topics, Gary.
I know.
So
you're a big guy, Red. Come on.
Start out with the time frame. So we know in North America, you can't award a franchise in less than 16 days. You have the 14-day waiting period. If you combine the 7-day waiting period within the 14, and you got the days on each side of 14, you got 16. So 16 is the least. We see an average with the consultant candidate, which is significantly less than a organic candidate. But the consultant candidate, if you take the whole spectrum from that, $5 million to $40,000 range of all-in investment, you're looking at 70 days perhaps.
Yep.
Now, some are going to go a year, some are going to go 20 days. So a big variety, but the ZOR needs to go into it. The consultant, the buyer, everybody involved needs to understand that process is not a week. It's not a day, unless you're in England. We are the International Franchise Professionals Group. So we do deals all over the globe where they don't have the franchise laws, and perhaps it's more the Wild West. But for a typical candidate in a first world, North American country, you're looking at 2-3 months on average, 4 months, perhaps typically.
Okay.
The consultant, the Fran Dev rep, the ZOR needs to set the proper expectation from the beginning. They need to talk about the candidate's ideal timeline if everything goes well, any obstacles to them moving forward each step, and each step of that franchise discovery process, they need to readdress it. Okay, we're on this step. We're on step 3. We're 4 weeks in. You said you hope to ideally make a decision within 6 weeks. We got to amp it up a little. We're a little behind on that timeline. So readdressing it, making sure we're both on the same page. And then if you're like most ZORs working with a referral consultant, you're fricking and fracking behind the scenes, giving an update to the consultant. Consultants then checking in, giving an update to the ZOR, and really massaging that process so that the candidate's comfortable, confident, and going to make that life-changing decision with the ideal brand that they're going to move forward with for the next decade or two. So it's a big process. Understanding it and having clarity upon it with clear communication from all parties is critical to success.
Yeah, and you said some brilliant things there. I think the part that I focused in on is the frickin' fracking behind the scenes. Again, franchisors and sometimes the potential franchisee, but franchisors, I think, need to learn more about what's actually happening. And I had a former client once mentioned to me, well, nothing is happening. And I said, well, that's not true. You have to think of this process like evolution. Things are happening, but you don't see them day to day. But when you start to look at trends, and when you start to put all these little sort of snapshot photos side by side, you start to see things happening. So I think in addition to having their house in order, which you mentioned, having the right expectation of a cost per close, which I think is probably in the $12,000, $15,000 range, obviously depending on the brand. I know some service brands who are closing deals at a $4,000 or $5,000 cost per acquisition, but certainly being prepared for that is important. Understanding the timeline, and then infrastructure. What's been your experience with franchisors, just in terms of franchisors making sure that their internal structure of their organization can match the number of franchisees they're bringing in so that they can service franchisees? Because we all talk about the sale, but for me, the reality is not just the sale. And I know you feel the same way. It's really about having successful, profitable franchisees, because those are the people who are making the sales for you. So maybe you can talk a little bit about infrastructure and servicing franchisees.
Well, if you're in franchising, you'll hear every day of your life. If you're learning, growing, networking, you're going to hear unit level economics. Okay, you got to have your franchisees happy if you want to award any more, and they ain't going to be happy if they're not making money. So unit level economics, what's their top line, their bottom line? How are they getting there? What are they putting into it? And are you supporting them through that, helping them make those unit level economics even better? Okay. Another part of that question is your internal team. Are you bringing in franchise people? Are these certified franchise executives you're bringing onto your team, or are they just good people? Now, I love a combination of the two. You can hire for the quality of the individual and then train for the job, certainly. But at the same time, bringing in some leadership that's truly investing their career in franchising can make such a difference. The lighting on this is funny. It keeps flashing, but truly having certified franchise execs, people who've lived and breathed franchising day in, day out, can make all the difference. I messed up when I was a ZOR way back in the day. I wasn't bringing on the right team that had the franchise experience to support my Z's, or maybe to make the franchise sales optimally and, legally in many cases, because there's so much regulation around franchise sales in North America. So truly having your act together, not just at the beginning, but throughout the process as you add more team members for growth, is so critical.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I bloodied my nose on sort of the same brick wall, if you will. When I first started out in the world of franchise development, I was a franchisee of Dunkin' Donuts.
Wow.
That's how I got started. I was like, I don't know how. I was 24 years old and I convinced them to give me a franchise, sell me a franchise. That's when I knew I was a good salesperson.
East Coast, no doubt.
Yeah, I was on. Yeah. Oh, this was back in 1984. They really hadn't gone. I know I don't look that old, right? This was when we used to make donuts in the shop. So Dunkin' was a very different organization in 1984, 85. Anyway, I guess my point is that when I got out of that business and someone said, oh, you should be a franchise consultant. And I'd never heard of that. And I don't think many people had. This was probably 1988, 89, 90. I said, oh, okay. That sounds like a good deal. I'll do that. And I actually got a client, and I made the awful mistake of taking my radio background. I started out in the radio business and started out in talent and production and then eventually in sales. And I actually put this brand on the radio for lead generation, which hadn't been done before. And it was just because that's what I knew. I can't say that it was thoughtful and mindful and it was some thing. It was like, it's what I knew, you know?
And now it's Chipotle today.
And now it's everybody, right? So long story short, my partner and I bring in about 236 deals in 25, 30 months. Okay.
Strong. Yeah.
And the company starts to implode. And that's where I learned, as you said, that infrastructure is important. Supporting the franchisee is important. And I look now for companies that, if we're working with them, if they're not living up to bringing those people in, if it's a certified franchise executive on the sales side, if it's that right operations person with the right background and the skill set, I get a little nervous about continuing to offer that franchise, because I'm thinking, what are we getting people into?
Oh yeah.
What sort of training? And I know, it's funny. We always say this is like one question, but it's always multiple questions. It's just one topic. What sort of training, when you talk about training people, the brokers in IFPG, not all of them have lived their life in the world of franchising like us. And I guess, we kind of came up through the ranks, for the lack of a better term. What sort of training, if someone wants to become a broker in IFPG, what are you offering them in the way of training and support?
I love that question, Gary. It's my internal mantra with my team is, if we have the best consultants, we win. Everything rises and falls with leadership, and our consultants are leading that process. And so that's the majority of my focus, is attracting and training the best consultants in the industry. Everything else follows. The ZOR follows the consultant. The vendor follows the ZOR. We're going to get the best consultants. And we do it two ways. One is just by naturally being attractive to the leaders in the industry. We never try to poach, never try to recruit, but when they contact me, they're a free agent. They're looking to work with the best group, best inventory, best technology, most attractive support. They keep all their income, which is a big part of it. Integrity of leadership, I pray, is part of it. And so that's one way. And over half our consultants were trained originally through other groups, and we then do ongoing training with them moving forward when they join us. And then I'm adding approximately one new consultant per week, sort of like selling a franchise a week. We're bringing on about 50 new ones a year that we train, take them through a very thorough training process. They have to pass their exam at the end. They have to score 100. Frankly, we're pretty high standards on that. And then we're training them 200 times a year thereafter, providing them everything they need, including leads, to be successful. So it's thorough and never ending.
It's never one and done. It's never ending. Okay. So I guess as a last word, a last question, if you could speak on this topic, I have, and I'm sure we all do, I have sort of my favorite or my, my go-to 3, 4, 5 methods of generating leads. My top method is PR. I love leads that come in as a result of an operator reads an article, say in Fast Casual magazine, tracks us down and goes, I got to have that. I want to know more about it. The challenge with that is it's expensive and they're few and far apart. Yeah. So if Red Boswell had to say, hey, these are my top 3, my top 5 methods of generating leads, sort of as a thought to leave us with, what would they be?
Yeah, Gary, I love that question as well. Solid, right? Bullseye question. So if you asked me that 15, 18 years ago, I would have said SEO, PR, and portals. That would have been my answers. That's how I awarded 148 in 3 years. That's what I did. Mm-hmm. SEO is way more competitive than ever, but still very important. PR has become much more of a nurturing tool after they've come into the process, because to validate further. Most PR companies are focusing on that because there's so much content out there fighting for our eyeballs, and getting in the newspaper, the magazine has such little impact compared to what it used to. So PR is not where it used to be from a lead gen standpoint, but certainly stronger than ever for the lead nurturing. And then lastly, portals. I was, awarding one out of every 100 or 2. Today, add a 0 to a lot of that. We're looking at 500 to 1,000. And I know that from experience being a global franchise CDO for 2 global brands. Portals aren't where they used to be. Now, I love my portal friends, but they're just not. If you've got the time and the effort and you're going to bang the phones, hundreds of times a day, hoping to talk to somebody who has some money, speaks English, and didn't think they applied for a job, portals are it. But for me today, it's about it's my time, effort, and money. So financial risk is critical. I would, of course, work with consultants. Brokers are the lead for me, and they're the #1 source of awarded franchises other than organic in all of franchising today. So it's nothing little to consider. I would also, to your question, look at, what can I get for free, brother, or almost free? I'm going to get referrals internally. I'm going to sell my top franchisees additional territories. I'm going to put little stickers on the cups and on the trucks and on the vans and the windows. I'm going to get the folks who already love me, the consumer, interested in acquiring a franchise. That's the lowest hanging fruit out there. If I'm in a conversion world, I'm going to go convert. That's typically a service effort, but I would be converting. I would be getting my consumers to buy. I would be working with consultants or referral groups such as IPG, and then I'm always optimizing SEO. And from there, you're going to get more and more referrals from your happy, validating franchisees.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Actually, a few months ago, I had Charles Watson, who's the CEO of Tropical Smoothie Cafe, which we all love, and
is great.
We just all saw him at Multi-Unit Franchise Conference. I don't remember the exact number, but in our conversation, he mentioned to me that, of the 200 or so units that they were going to open in 2022, and don't quote me on the exact number, it was somewhere around there, that more than 70% of those, or 60%, it was some outrageous number that he told me, was coming from existing franchisees opening up more units.
That's so awesome.
Absolutely.
Man, I love to hear that. You are truly changing lives when they get to that exponential level. And it's the ultimate validation that, you go ask my wife, would you marry him again? I'm praying she says yes. I mean, you're asking a franchisee, would you do it again? Would you acquire more? They're acquiring more. They're not just saying it, they're doing it. That rules. And they're reaching a different level of lifestyle. When you got those multi-unit, now you're not working in the store every day. You're managing the manager, and man, life changes.
Yeah. And it speaks to a brand on so many levels. It's not just speaking to the brand on the business model and can you make money. It's speaking to the support, to the culture of the company. You can be making all the money in the world, but if you hate working with the people and the company is always oppressive, then maybe you're not going to open more. So, to Charles's credit, and to all the folks over at Tropical Smoothie Cafe, I mean, they're hitting on all cylinders, as they say. So I agree with you.
As a Zor, the Zors in the audience, would you rather have 500 Zs with 500 units? Or would you rather have 80 Z's with 6 units each, whatever that math is. I mean, it's so much easier to manage. You have such a more intimate relationship. You know all their names. They're following the system, and it's just a beautiful world as a Zor to have less Z's with more locations. It's a perfect model.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, we've been talking with Red Boswell, the president of the IFPG, the International Franchise Professionals Group. And we've been talking about lead generation and having your act together, so to speak, as a franchisor, and what to do, what not to do, and things to look out for. Red, if someone wants to learn more about IFPG or reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
Thank you, Gary. IFPG.org, not .com, IFPG.org is our website. And we own Franchise Wire. We've got some other acquisitions very close at hand. So really are expanding and growing. If you have an interest in becoming a consultant with us, I will work directly with you and my membership team. If you're a Zor or a vendor to the industry, my membership team as well will be working closely with you, as will I. So it's simple: membership at ifpg.org, membership at ifpg.org. We'll go to the appropriate parties. I get included on all those. So excited to help you figure out if this is the right fit for you in your life plans, whether it be consulting, helping others find a business, or a Zor looking for great top quality leads. Gary, you rule, brother. Thank you so much.
No, you rule, Red. Thanks so much for being with us today. I can't thank you enough. And I guess I'll see you at the next conference or something somewhere around. Although I will say I've been on a little bit of a break. I did like 6 cities in 5 weeks. You probably did 60 cities in 5 weeks because I see you all the time. But I'm just kind of chilling now for a couple of weeks, and then we've got National Restaurant Association at the end of May, and then I've got a franchisors conference in June. So I'm doing I'll be down in Austin. So doing a little bit of traveling, but I hope to run into you at the next conference.
Or we'll run past each other in the airport as we've done. So yes. Beautiful. Thank you, brother.
Have a good one. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.